Hi, my name is Cornell, and for my book talk, I'm going to talk about Kathryn Erskine's Mockingbird. In this story, 10-year-old Caitlyn's brother is killed, but she doesn't fully understand that he's gone. That's because she suffers from Asperger's syndrome. Asperger's syndrome is considered an autism spectrum disorder, meaning it's a developmental disorder that affects the ability to socialize and communicate with others. Caitlyn is considered a very talented artist, and her reading ability is exceptionally high, but she has trouble understanding or expressing certain words like closure and emotions. I'm going to read a small excerpt from page 10. I look at the walls, and not much has changed except that the mad face on the facial expressions chart now has a mustache. I know because I have looked at that chart about 1,000,000 times to try to figure out which emotion goes with each face. I'm not very good at it. I have to use the chart because when I look at real faces, I don't get it. Mrs. Brooks says people have a hard time understanding me because I have Asperger's, so I have to try extra hard to understand them, and that means working on emotions. This is one thing that I like about this book, is that it's from Caitlyn's point of view, and we get to read through the mind of a young child who suffered from Asperger's. Simon Mason wrote a review on the Mockingbird on the Guardian website, and this is what he stated. It was a brave decision to narrate the story from Caitlyn's very limited point of view. The present tense, the use of italics instead of quotation marks for speech, and the clunkily literal chapter titles restrict the narration even further. Kathryn Erskine's evocation of Asperger thinking is impressive and sensitively managed, but such narrowing of the focus reinforces the story's programmatic nature. Other books that are similar to Mockingbird is Emily Franklin and Brendan Houghton's The Half-Life of Planets. In this story, Hank suffers from Asperger's and meets 17-year-old Leanna, who is very determined to change her reputation from being a bad girl to a good girl, and these two form an unlikely friendship unlike anything he has ever had. Suzanne Crawley's The Very Ordered Existence of Merrily Marvelous. In this story, 13-year-old Merrily has a VOE, which is a very ordered existence, meaning she keeps a schedule of every hour of the day. And she meets two friends who try to convince her to get off the schedule and try to be more free. Marcello in the Real World by Francisco S. Stork. In this story, 17-year-old Marcello has to work at his father's law firm, and there he meets two assistants who try to convince him to step out of his comfort zone and try to convince his father of what he wants to do instead of what his father wants him to do. Each of these characters suffer from Asperger's, and Asperger's syndrome is a very real disorder that affects millions of kids each day. So when you meet someone who is kind of strange or has trouble communicating, try not to see them as odd or weird. They're just regular people who just have a hard time communicating with others. So try to get to know them. And who knows, they may even become your next best friend. Mockingbird is a really great book, and I highly recommend it to everyone, as well as The Half-Life of Planets, The Very Ordered Existence of Merrily Marvelous, and Marcello in the Real World.